Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seals. And he actually headed up the campaign for Bobby Seale when he ran for the mayor of Oakland and almost shocked the world and won. Herman then came back, returned to Philadelphia, and became engaged in politics. He's the former head of the mayor's office of community services. He turned those whole skills around and headed up Mayor Wilson Good's campaign. And Mayor Wilson Good, as you may know, some young folks may not know, was the first elected Black mayor of the city of Philadelphia. And so, without further ado, I'm going to bring on our brother Sultan Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, rahmatullah.
Alhamdulillah. How are you, my brother?
Hey, brother, I'm fine, thanks to Allah. I am truly among those who are grateful. There's old folks saying that when you make the morning count, you got to make the day count. So Allah blessed me to make the morning count, so I'm truly trying to make my day count.
Alhamdulillah. Wonderful. So, I mean, we've all seen the movie. Well, I hope you have. It's going to be, we're going to be spilling the beans today. So, if you haven't seen it and you don't want the beans spilled, you know, we're going to let you slide. But if you want to go into the movie with some knowledge about the true and actual facts and the history of the Black Panther Party and what happened to Chairman Fred Hampton, then stay on the station. Stay here with us. We're broadcast live on WURD.com, WURDradio.com. We're on 900 AM and 96.1 FM. So by all means, stay with us. And so, Brother Sultan, when did you join the Black Panther Party?
You're chasing my memory, but first let me just thank you and Brother Ahmed and the WURD family for this opportunity to be part of this broadcast today. I think it's either late 69 or early 69 I joined the party. I know in late 69 or early 70 I was asked to come out to California for a couple of weeks. I was at that time the captain of the branch after the late Reggie Shell, who was our first captain here in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm. And so, what drew you or attracted you to the Black Panther Party?
Well, I guess like all young people, the desire to make a difference. Coming out of Edison High School, seeing a lot of my brothers who I knew who went into the war, some who didn't make it back, looking at the tragedies of police brutality, looking at the dilemmas that we were facing here in Philadelphia with unemployment and gang activities and other things going on in the late 60s. So when the party started here, Brother Clarence Peterson and a few other people who were responsible for getting a chapter of the party here in Philadelphia, I knew all those brothers. And when they did organize the office here, the first office, if I recall, at 1928 Columbia Avenue, at that time, Columbia. And I went down and I seen my brothers and I came on in.
Okay. So getting to the meat and the potatoes of this interview, Chairman Fred Hampton, as he was known, rose to be the chairman of the party for the Illinois chapter.
That's correct.
Now, in this movie, what aspects of the movie do you think is more fictionalized, and what aspects do you feel are true to the storyline, the actual storyline or chain of events?
Well, let me first just say, like many party members, I didn't meet Chairman Fred personally, but Chairman Fred was a profound leader of the party when I arrived, and we read about Fred, we heard his various speeches, and we all became familiar with it. In talking with some of my comrades from Chicago, there are some things in the movie that sort of hit the mark, and there's a few things that, you know, as part of what Hollywood does with movies, create a storyline or create a script line. So I looked at the movie in two ways. One, I looked at the movie from a standpoint that much of it had to do with talking about a man who betrayed his people, betrayed his community, and betrayed Fred in William O'Neill.
Mm-hmm.
Much of it did not really give a complete definition of the greatness of Fred Hampton, or the great organizer he was, the great orator that he was, or just the kind of brother who believed in the philosophy of the party, who believed in the 10-point platform program, and who worked tirelessly throughout Chicago and throughout Illinois to put that chapter on the map.
Mm-hmm. So, in terms of Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield, well, obviously, apparently, you didn't know William O'Neill, but you had an opportunity to hear the speeches of Chairman Fred. Do you think that those two actors captured the essence of the two characters?
Well, I think the production was well. I thought that the acting was extremely well. The brother didn't have the physical imagery of Fred, but he certainly had was near to some of the dialects and the speech and the ability to, as we called it back then, blow like Fred, which means talk like Fred. That part was fantastic. There are some scenes that are true to character in Chicago, that I am places that I'm familiar with, and that the overall production, like Hollywood does in many cases, put together. And I applaud the actors who carried these roles based on the script that they were playing from, to the degree that it translated a message to the public.
Now, Fred formed an organization called that kind of got rehashed later on, called the Rainbow Coalition.
Yes. Yeah, Fred was working to put a lot of organizations together, and he was working tirelessly trying to see if he could bring people together, and he worked to work many of the gangs at that time in Chicago together. He worked to get the Young Lords.
We dropped our brother. He hit the Mike, if you can get him back on, and I'll try to fill the gaps. As we,
okay, you got me back.
Yeah, we back.
Yeah, my battery battery went down for a quick minute, so I had to move to another source of generating power.
Okay.
Yeah, so Fred was key and strategic in trying to organize different segments of Chicago to really make a difference. And one of the scenes where he talked about with some of the brothers from the gangs, where he said that if we come together with what you're doing and what we're doing, come with your forces in the community and our politics and our national platform, we could change this whole town. So that was a key factor. And then the speech where he did have that coalition, the first real Rainbow Coalition of the Young Patriots and the Young Lords and the Black Panther Party, along with a lot of other, I would suggest, organizing groups, came together to make a difference. And that's what shook up the world, and that's what shook up the FBI, along with the overall definition of what the party was about in the 10-point platform and program and the breakfast program. But greater than all that, all power to the people slogan, which was creating growth across this country. Right. People began to recognize they had the power to make a difference.
Yeah, I remember in elementary school, when we would have the, our a lot of teachers coming from historically black colleges like Cheney, wearing the big afros, holding their fists, and they were teaching us all power to all.
All power to the people. All power to all people.
Right. And so Fred actually got the poor whites together. I said, there's a scene in the movie where they come in and there's a Confederate flag hanging up there. And I saw one of the interviews of one of the Panthers who were there, and they said, yeah, them guys was donning the Confederate flag in their meeting hall. And Fred came in there just as bold as you please and addressed them and spoke to their you're just as poor as we are. So don't think that COINTELPRO and J. Edgar Hoover and these people aren't watching you.
That's right. Racism, poor education, lack of opportunity, lack of growth, limited job access, all those the same dog bit them, bit us.
Mm-hmm. And he managed to form a coalition with them, the Puerto Rican gangs and the Mexican gangs of Chicago, as well as the Black Lords and the Disciples and Keystone Nation, all those, Al Raccoon.
Well, all of them wasn't, the term gang sometimes can be misleading, but certainly there were large organizations of people who wanted to make a difference in their own particular communities. And Fred sees that opportunity to say that if we unify with the power of the people, we can change everything. We can make the government of Chicago and Illinois recognize us and change the quality of life for our people.
Mm-hmm. And so at some point in the movement, there's a big old shootout. I think Chairman Fred was incarcerated during the shootout. So the police activity was that intense on y'all?
Well, the police activity was intense across the country. I mean, Chicago was certainly on fire at that time, but LA chapter, New York chapter, Philadelphia, I mean, there were raids all across the country. When J. Edgar Hoover had his mind set and through the COINTELPRO of infiltrators, because you got to remember, we were young people, man. We were 18, 19, 20 years old. We were out there defying the odds. We were standing up for self-defense, but we had created survival programs that organized the people in a format to recognize their needs, that we were looked at as a threat, not the kind of threat J. Hoover defined, but a threat to changing the dialects,
right?
Changing the discussion from those who are have it all versus those who had need for all. So that became, and then when the breakfast program and exposed that contradiction of children going to school hungry each morning, and we began to have breakfast for children and do education along before they went to buildings, and I'm talking about good breakfasts, not no muffin and a sausage on a muffin. We would cook eggs and pancakes and grits.
What you call pot stickers.
Oh man, we had them children. I even loved the breakfast program because it was a good eating every morning. That program, along with the challenging the medical industry about preventive medical care and exposing the contradiction of sickle cell anemia. I mean, all those things, along with other programs, put this country on defense. And because it showed the contradiction that government was not doing what it should have been doing to protect the interests of the people. Elected officials who we elect to serve our needs were really not doing that.
Right. Now, the images that we have of Huey P. Newton sitting in the bamboo chair with the shotgun and the spear, and him and Bobby on City Hall steps with the shotguns, and they were challenging and kind of poking, the establishment in the eye, was really contrary to actually what the Panther Party was about, correct?
That's correct. I mean, the party understood self-defense was a measure. So in the early beginnings in California, when they began to patrol the police department and expose their irresponsible behavior or racist behavior, and at that time in California, they had a right to carry arms.
Open carry. California was open
carry, as long as it was not concealed in rounds, so they were able to at least make a position clear that we would defend ourselves. But greater than that, as the survival programs came online to accompany that, and the people began to recognize that this group was not just about themselves, it was about changing the neighborhood, about changing the conversation, about changing the country.
Right.
So so it wasn't just trying to make a grand stand. And then when the 10-point platform and program talked about full employment, talked about ending police brutality, talked about an education that teaches our true nature, or talked about having full employment, or or being exempt from the military or a jury of our peers. When all of those things came together, you had a thing that was swelling that America couldn't. You had a runaway train. And for the first time, people were beginning, and I won't say the first time because there's been many movements prior to the party, but the party seized that opportunity during the 60s and into the 70s to really expose that contradiction and force their hand.
So like they say, if you want to create anti-gun legislation, allow black men to walk the streets with open carry guns. And so the state of California can thank the Black Panther Party for no longer being an open carry state.
Yes.
We have a couple callers. We got LeBake Jake and Sammy. We're going to take LeBake Jake and only on line one. Assalamu alaikum, LeBake Jake.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah, my brother, Sultan, man. Look,
hey, that's my
look,
main
one
man.
thing I got to tell you, man. Sultan is an alumni Edison High, the inventor. Right? Let that be known.
That's Vietnam High, right?
Yes, sir. That's the school that lost more students to the war in Vietnam than any school in America.
You know, they do a special on that Sultan where it's a beautiful picture of you when you was young with that Sultan smile, man. You got to get that, man. That's a beautiful documentary of our school, man.
No doubt, no doubt.
Look, Casa, when I first met Sultan, he was Brother Lieutenant 3X. Okay.
Herman X?
I was William 87X FOI, okay? And he was getting the job done then, and he getting it done now, you know. But Sultan, on this Black Panther thing, I live 2 blocks away from when the Philadelphia police shot up the Black Panther house in the 2900 block of Columbia Avenue.
2935 West Columbia Avenue.
Yes, we heard the shots, man, because I was a little young, you know, but we heard the shots, and we said, well, what was that? And they said, man, the police around there shooting up, right? And we, you know, we couldn't get too close to them, but we still heard the shots. And I remember not till, I don't know, the houses, but I could actually go by there and see the bullet holes in the brick that was there for years. I don't know if it's still there now, but, you know.
Well, it was alleged that they shot over 300 rounds into that building. They came in trash trucks, some like, I guess in the mid hours of the morning, and perpetrating a fraud that this was a trash pickup, but they had surrounded the house. And not just that house, they raided our office in West Philly, 3645 Wallace Street. That's where they stripped our brothers naked, brought them out the house.
Right, that picture that's
raided
all over the world.
Raided office in Germantown and West Philly. So at that time, Rizzo and Fensel and the crew were quite active in trying to destroy the party. And along with those raids, you know, the mission was to destroy the building so you couldn't operate again. But as in the picture where they showed the people coming out of Chicago to help put that office back on the map, the same thing happened here in Philadelphia. People came to help bail us out. Father Washington and Father Gracie were among the people who went and helped bail out the party members, and community people came and started cleaning out the building, and next thing you know, we were back operating again.
Yeah. You know, my prayer is, man, is that your foundation, your community center that you and your wife put together in your son's name, brother, that Allah make that open, because we need it now, man.
No doubt.
More than we ever needed it. We need
yes, sir.
what you got already planned out. That's what I'm talking about. You still working, brother. You on your post, and may Allah bless that effort, because we need it, and we need it to spread. So I know you got the recipe to the cake.
Thank you, Jake.
So inshallah, man, I'm gonna help you. My sister, you know, we there for you.
No doubt. There's no question.
So, but thank you, my brother, for letting me say that. Qasim, you take it easy. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, brother Jake.
Let me just throw in here, you know, my partner in this whole struggle of 45 years, my lovely wife, Harriet Ahmed. We just celebrated our 45th anniversary on February the 7th. So we've been in this for the long haul, and like Brother Jake said, inshallah, once this virus is cleared up and people are vaccinated, we'll be back in our building trying to provide all kinds of services for the community, for our youth, for our seniors, and for the whole neighborhood.
Right. So let's go back to that point that LeBake Jake brought up, is that in the movie, the Chicago Police Department instigates a shootout with the Black Panther Party, and they ultimately triumphantly win the shootout, and then they go into the building and firebomb the building. Yeah. And you're saying that the same thing happened in Philadelphia?
Well, in not just Philadelphia, across this country. I mean, we were under fire. It was a tough time to be a Panther Party member. I mean, chapters across this country were seeing the same kind of situation where police were raiding our buildings under false pretense or under false definitions, under so-called alleged warrants, looking for certain people who had no involvement with us or wasn't in our buildings, and they used all that as a pretext to raid and begin to imprison comrades and begin a whole process to spend money for bail and repairs and all that. So it was more than just
there were shootouts all over the nation.
Over the nation. It was a plan to systematically destroy us, but once again, they seen the power of the people. That all those chapters came back online, and that the people mobilized and organized around us because we were trying to do the right thing. And once again, we were young people, but we were trying to do the right thing.
Right. How old are you, Sultan?
I got to be somewhere around 19.
and Chairman Fred was 21.
21 when they murdered Fred. So we were young, man. We could have been doing anything, but we chose to become, as Fred said, revolutionaries. And as Fred said, you could kill a revolutionary, but you couldn't kill the revolution. So we saw that as an objective, and we had classes constantly understanding the political ramifications of what we were doing. We had to read everything and study everything, and then go out and do comprehensive community work each and every day.
Yeah, and there was something that was really I guess kind of mind-blowing, but it kind of caught my attention that Chairman Fred wasn't down with sexism and misogyny. They checked the brother, and it was William O'Neill, who was coming on to the sister. I forget the line that he said to the sister, but he basically said, "You will respect our female comrades as you respect the male comrades."
Well, there was a struggle, but it was defined that in many of these chapters across the country, the real numbers there were women, and the ability to respect the sisters had to be a line drawn in the sand, as well as sisters became in leadership positions in the chapters across the country and played strategic roles. So as one time, I think of one sister put it, if I can go out and do community work, I can be able to pick up a gun as well. So it was the view that the sister's role had no lesser nature than the man's role. And there were many, many, many strong sisters in this organization who carried their load and kept their back as well.
And one of them we talked about, brother, see, now my age is telling. We talked about the sister the other day. Her son is the young cub.
Oh, you were talking about a brother Mekki.
Sharif El-Mekki's mother.
Yeah, yes.
Returned to Allah recently.
Yes, sir. May Allah be pleased with her. Sister Sandra, as we call, I forget her holy name, but yes, she was in the party, and along with the sisters, they had to be in those PE classes. They had to hold their own. They had to be able to, as we call it, blow and talk about the nature of this decadent society and what we had to do to change. So
we're gonna. I think we're gonna go to a break.
Okay.
And then we're going to have Sammy and Ambler. I don't know if you know Sammy, online too. But we just sagged into Sister Sandra, Sharif El-Mekki's mother. And Sharif is a part of a group called the Cubs of the Black Panthers.
Okay.
And he does a lot of PR for that on social media, particularly on Instagram. And he's a leading advocate for black male teachers in the school systems of Philadelphia and throughout the country. He's doing a lot of good work. So,
great work.
Right. So we're going to go to a break, and then when we come back, we're going to take a call from Sammy on line 2. But we're going to talk about the the influence or how a lot of Panthers went on to become Muslims, and how that commonality, what role did it, what role did you see, or how did you see Islam in your revolutionary perspective? You've been listening to Living Islam Today on WURD Radio, 900 AM, 96.1 FM. I'm your host, Qasim Rashad. My guest is Brother Sultan Big Herm Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum.
Team. There's an increasing share of residents struggling to cover the most fundamental necessities. On a national level, Philadelphia was among the highest with poverty rates. Muslim Serve's mission is to develop and implement programs addressing food insecurity in collaboration with local community partners. Fundamentally, Muslim Serve strives to uplift those in our community by providing free, hot, nutritious meals. This is done by partnering with a variety of local community organizations and establishments with the goal to bring comfort to those in need and to relieve hunger in our area, no matter who they are. Veterans, students, people with disabilities, single parents, senior citizens, working class families, and children. Muslim Serve can be reached by phone at 833-486-4370 or by email at info@muslimserve.org. Learn more about Muslim Serve and what they do on their website, muslimserve.org, and on their social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter @Muslim Serve.
Khadijah Alderman's Funeral Service Incorporated. Don't let your family bear the burden of your final arrangements. Pre-arranged now.
We specialize in janazah services, traditional Christian services, natural burials, and theme services.
We provide repast, domestic and international shipping, webcasting, and Skyping.
We service all denominations.
Our new location, 1924 West Hunting Park Avenue, Philadelphia 19140, 215-225-6600. Visit us at www.khadijahsfuneralservice.com. That's www.khadijahsfuneralsvc.com.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Khadijah Alderman's Funeral Service, serving humanity with dignity.
You're listening to Living Islam Today, an Ahmed Media Company project on WURD Radio, 900 AM and 96.1 FM. The Behavioral Wellness
Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to Living Islam Today. Today is Saturday, February 27th. Actually, I can think I see the beginnings of spring. Today it almost hit about 50 degrees in the city of brotherly love. We hope that everyone throughout the country is doing well, particularly our comrades in the state of Texas who really got hit hard with a lot of unexpected freezing weather that put a lot of people in some serious situations. I think we lost 30 souls down there in Texas, so we're praying for them and that they come back, as they say, Texas strong. Today we're reviewing the movie Judas and the Black Messiah, featuring Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield. Is a really excellent movie on the life and assassination of Chairman Fred Hampton, who was the chairman of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. We're at 900 AM and 96.1 FM. You can call us at 215-634-8065, and we're streamed live at WURDradio.com. We've got Sammy online too. Sammy, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Listen,
quickly, I'm originally from Norristown, Pennsylvania. And as a youngster, maybe 14 or 15, I used to go into the city because out here in the suburbs, you couldn't get the styles that you really wanted to get. And when I would go into the city, I ran across a brother Ed, who was with the party. And he talked to me and he introduced me and opened up my head to a lot of things. Quickly, I started going down to 1928 Columbia.
Yes, sir.
And that was a revelation. Somewhere within me, I already had the feelings and the knowledge of what needed to be done. And I attended the PE classes. Oh, it was a wonderful time.
And this was in the 60s. Yeah, this was in the 60s. And short story, living out in Norristown, there weren't many people that were that friendly to the cause. You had that suburban thing, and, you know, that's just the way it was. But one day, a friend of mine, an older guy, he pulled me to the side. He says, "Yo, you've been going down to Panther headquarters, haven't you?" And I looked and I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Shut up. I know Reggie Shell. We went to school together." And he told me about you. Now, I was like 15 years old.
Wow.
But that just goes to show me that he was looking out. He was looking out for me, and I didn't even know it.
Okay.
I didn't even know it. And
Yeah,
then,
Reggie, excuse me, go ahead. I apologize.
No, go ahead, brother.
No, Reggie was our first branch captain here. Reggie and a brother named Stretch and some other people, they all were the first founding members here of the party in Philadelphia. We went out to California, who got the authorization to open a chapter here, and the rest is history from there.
I remember Reggie well. I remember, you know, seeing him a couple times and going to the classes. And, you know, my parents, they were a little, you know, skeptical, even though they gave me a lot of room to do what I needed to do, because them coming from the South, a lot of things they didn't understand, but some things they did understand. Right. And when I would explain things to them, they would understand it. And the clincher was, we used to come out and go to South Street to get meats and stuff. And I asked my dad, I said, "Joe, can you take me by the headquarters so I can get my papers?" You know, because I was moving the papers. And he took me by, and they had the free breakfast program.
Right.
And when him and my mom saw that, they was like, "Yo, okay, we see what this is, and we love it. You keep doing what you're doing."
Okay.
And as you said, that free breakfast program, I believe it was, what, the first in the nation?
Yes, it was all over the country. We had 45 chapters, and we implemented that breakfast program throughout every chapter.
Yeah. So my experience, you know, as a young, you know, 15-year-old, coming from the suburbs, knowing that there were a lot of things that were not right, but there was nothing I could do about them, it gave me a sense of pride, and it made me walk a lot taller.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you.
A lot taller. And I appreciate, you know, and you know, like I say, I'm a lifelong Panther member.
All right. No doubt. No doubt.
Thank you,
brother. Thank you.
So, Brother Reggie hit on a lot of key things. Whereas you had SNCC, you had the Nation of Islam, you had a lot of pro-black groups. But it seems like the Panther Party was a universal group that was black-centered, but was open to all nationalities. Did I hit that on the head?
Well, the party, you know, it was the Black Panther Party, but we had coalitions, we had associates, we had friends of the party, we had people who were in the party, we had the Intercommunal Committee to Combat Fascism, which were white people who wanted to end the racist practices that were coming from their community. So we told them to work in their community to change those contradictions. We had coalitions with the Young Lords and with other groups in the city. In California, we was part of the Latino movement. The farm workers, Cesar Chavez supported part. The party had Asian. I mean, the party. The slogan was "All power to the people." So we weren't about excluding people. We seen the damage that racism had already done. We seen the damage that white supremacy had already done. So our goal was to try to change this narrative and to try to organize people to do for themselves, but create opportunities for growth and development.
Mm-hmm. So now, coming back home, and you and what I noticed, well, I wasn't old enough to be a Cub or to be a Panther, but I remember I was in elementary school, and most in Philadelphia at that time, most of the black teachers were coming out of Lincoln and Cheney University.
Right.
And they were very black and Afrocentric and party members. Many of them were party members.
Right.
And so, but I also saw many of the former Panther members. You go to these meetings, these conferences, and you'll hear from Muslims who are African Americans who were former party members. Did you find that that's an accurate assumption or an accurate depiction that you, Sister Sandra, and several others went on to become Muslims?
No doubt, no doubt. Let's just take it from the beginning. I mean, many of us in the community grew up together, went to school together, used to hang out together. Then the light went on for some. Some became revolutionaries, some became Christians, some became Muslims, some became in the Islamic faith, some became, nationalists or cultural nationalists. But the coalition of knowing each other was the environment. So when I left the party, or when I came home from the party in late '74, if I recall, I came really in the Nation of Islam, I guess, around the beginning of '75, just about, because many of the brothers who I knew who went to Edison High with me were now in the Nation. Many of them I knew when we were all students at Edison, and the movement had continued. There was no Panther Party in an active stage here in Philadelphia, so I became a member of the Nation of Islam. And if you recall, our 10-point platform and program was part of what generated our response to the contradiction, but the Nation of Islam also had what we want, what we need, and it talked about the contradictions in society. So there were a lot of consistencies in that regard. So it wasn't natural when I came into the Nation of Islam, and immediately coming in, I worked on one of the key things that I did in the Panther Party was the newspaper, and then eventually became a lieutenant and in charge of the newspaper operation distribution, and the story goes on and on and on. So it wasn't hard. It was a smooth transition. And you got to remember, Qasim, many of us as young people, we were in the movement in Philly. We demonstrated when they were trying to fight PCT, and we demonstrated when they were building Strawberry Mansion High. We demonstrated when they were talking about the march on Girard College, trying to make a difference, in Brother Kenneth Salam and Freedom Smitty at that time, and George. A lot of them brothers was all, active in the civil rights movement. So the coalition wasn't hard to embrace, and then the environment was not hard to embrace.
Mm-hmm. So the mystique, and we see this mystique portrayed in the film as well with the Black Panther. And I remember this as a young man, as a child. My brother, he wasn't in the Panther Party, but all the dudes up in North Philly, they all had black leather jackets and black pants. That was the uniform of the Panther Party, right?
You had your black beret, leather jackets was in, the bush was in, Afros was in, the slogan, all power to the people was in. Some of the brothers still wore dashikis, it was a lot of things going on. And, young people have always been responsible for the struggle. And you look at it, historical perspectives across the world, you will see that it was always the youth that played a role in changing the narrative. So as young people, we forced the hand, and, we embraced the dialects, we embraced the wear, we marched, we drilled, we taught each other, each one teach one. So it was a whole thing that put us all in the same place at the same time.
Now, William O'Neill, let's talk a little bit about Lakeith Stanfield's character, William O'Neill, who was actually an operative, paid informant for the FBI, and a part of, they don't really say that he was engaged in a COINTELPRO, which was an organized program throughout the nation to infiltrate black organizations. And so what did you all know, as because I think what people don't, well, if you see the movie, you do know that he later on committed suicide, and a lot of people connected that to his guilt for what he did to Chairman Fred. What did you all know about William O'Neill. I guess he became famous in the party once Chairman Fred was assassinated.
Well, I didn't. Once again, I didn't never meet him, but we knew that he was a traitor. We knew that history shows that he was a traitor, but history also shows that beyond the role of him being a traitor, it was a systematic plan to destroy the Black Panther Party, along with all other kind of Black organizations, civil rights movements, even Black entertainers. I saw the movie last night of U.S. government versus Billie Holiday, and showed that the FBI at that time had a systematic plan on trying to stop her from singing a song that talked about lynching in the South. So all that's tied together. So the COINTELPRO of J. Edgar Hoover and this very dangerous man who did all kinds of things to destroy and to divide and create dissension, and he used a lot of different people, and certainly some of our own people were part of that whole process. You know, we was young, so everybody that came around the party, we didn't have a full vetting process. We didn't have a process that, you know, did a complete political search or checked you out. We if you came in and you started working, you picked up some papers, we would try to get a narrative on you, but it wasn't a thing that every person that came around was vetted. And our motive was to serve the people, so we believed that the revolution would go on anyway, and we weren't intimidated by the COINTELPRO, even though it did a lot of damage. And we still got comrades who are still incarcerated today, so free all political prisoners, particularly those of the Black Panther Party.
Right. So the party first had its origins, I believe, in Oakland, California. I even had the privilege of interviewing Bobby Seale.
Okay.
Where he I think you set that interview up too.
Yeah, Bobby is my man.
Yeah, but Bobby said that he and Huey, I think they were students at Oakland Community College or something like that, was originally attracted to Malcolm X, and that they said they wanted to perhaps even entertain joining the Nation of Islam, but upon his assassination and some of the implications or the alleged implications of members of the Nation of Islam being associated with his assassination, they decided to go in another direction. And so they actually contacted Dr. Betty Shabazz. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, based on the information that I know they had a relationship with Sister Shabazz. I know when she came to California and traveled to Sacramento, they were certainly there for her and part of the response team that gave her security, along with engaging with her. I don't know the full depths of that because I was not a part of that. You got to remember, in California, where the party began, right there at 1048 Peralta Street in West Oakland, the branches from around the country all had their orders to begin to organize, to begin to set up offices, begin to distribute the newspaper, and then begin to set programs up. So a lot of times, much of our relationship with the leadership or the Central Committee came down through a chain of command structure, and then information through the newspaper, then through PE classes. But so all of us didn't engage with everything at all times, but in the city we were in, that's where our focus would be to try to make that difference. Then when I was summoned to California, I was told one weekend to pack enough clothes for a couple of weeks, and I ended up staying out there about 5 years. I think coming back one time to close the chapter and bring other comrades to California. That was a whole attempt then to, move on to government, to run Elaine Brown for city council and Bobby for mayor of Oakland, along with to do massive organizing. So we started to consolidate members from around the country for that purpose, and I was in that part of that consolidation. But there's so many great comrades, and we've lost so many great comrades, and may God be pleased with all those former members of the party who we've lost, and all the members who are still out there today in various organizations, particularly the National Alumni Association of Black Panther Party members. And you talked about Houston. I just talked to a couple of comrades from Houston who went through this terrible weather and being without water and electric for several days. So one of the things we try to do is stay in touch with each other. And here we are 50 years later, many of us still talk to each other on a regular basis, and our comradeship continues on.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about some of the larger cities where the chapters, Milwaukee had a chapter?
Milwaukee has something small. I remember some brothers from Milwaukee. I remember some people from Detroit. I remember going to Washington, going to Baltimore. There was a small branch in Atlantic City, or maybe not so much a branch, but some friends of the party. New Jersey was small. New York had a large structure of the party, but certainly California and LA was, in Illinois, they would be I would say the three largest elements, particularly the LA and the Illinois chapter. But Philadelphia had its own. Philadelphia was top of the clock, and we were certainly able to actually be a part of it at that time.
So did the party have any affiliation or organization with the Nation of Islam?
Sure, because as I said to you earlier, Qasim, many of us knew each other, were friends to each other, went to school with each other, and we just went different ways, just like in, everyday life. You grew up with someone in elementary and junior high and high school, and then when you become adult, you go this way, he go that way, but y'all still stay in touch. So it was always that kind of affiliation. And it, like I said, when I came home and went into the nation, it was a continuous evolution of growth, moving towards trying to change the perspective.
Mm-hmm. So it seems as though the alumni, you're the former president of the Alumni Association.
Yes.
How does that function? You guys meet annual. I know it's because of COVID you haven't met, but
yes,
annual meeting.
Well, we formed something about 10 years ago out in California. We had a 3-day retreat, and many comrades from all around the country came together, and we structured a strong 501c3 organization. We had a leadership team, and we began to have annual events. Our mission was to look at ways to support students, ways to support many of our young children who become what they call cubs of the party, and then figure out ways to fight to get many of our political prisoners out of jail, to continue that voice out there. And then we started having an annual, as you would call, an annual retreat. The first one under this new organization happened here in Philadelphia, which was the 45th anniversary, and then it went on year after year. But I'm no longer part of it, but I still support that direction of the alumni.
So what do you think is the future of the party? Do you foresee a resurrection of the party?
I see Black lives raising the voice of what we were. I see Black lives and young people once again picking up that baton. I see students across America, young people in the street, and they would concentrate us to think about some of the unrest, but there was a lot of major organizing going on behind some of what we didn't see, where the media kind of focused us in one direction. And they have forced this contradiction about police brutality. They have forced this injustice of having police be all things to every situation. And they have talked about many different things about housing and employment and education. So we think just like growth happens, one thing comes into being and another thing negates that and another thing comes into being. And so we see that the journey has now arrived at, we're at full center now, where the movement of last year and 19 has put our conversation right in the front of the mirror, and is telling us that we all have a responsibility. We got to do the same thing here in Philadelphia. We got to find ways to help our children and resolve contradictions in a nonviolent way. We got to find ways to get employment and create economic development opportunities and public safety and public health, and just all of the things that will make society grow and develop. So the journey continues, the revolution continues, and the struggle goes on.
Right. That's very interesting that you would connote Black Lives Matter's organization and movement as similar to the Black Panther Party's movement, because they were both rooted in, I guess, their rejection of police brutality.
No doubt.
Okay. Well, now 1 minute left, Sultan, and I promised you I was going to give you an opportunity to do a shout out for the Sultan Jihad Ahmed Community Foundation.
Yes, I just want to say briefly that first, we just want to thank all the people who have supported us. It's been 27 years now since the death of our son, and we have created, we went from a scholarship fund to a community foundation. We have an institution at 1901 West Oxford Street. We're hoping that after the pandemic, we will begin to be more engaged again. We had a lot of good programs coming out of that building, and we think that that can become what was the first police station in North Philly, a real safe house for our young people and a way to help them to find a better life and a better change. So, and we're working diligently about this $600 million social impact bond, which we'll be posting on Facebook and other places. If you're interested in getting in touch with us, just give us a call, 215-787-0857, 215-787-0857, or email us at sjafund, F-U-N-D, at AOL.com. I know it's old time, AOL. But
they can Google Sultan Jihad Ahmed.
Yeah, you can Google us and find us that way, but SJA Fund.
Okay.
And I want to thank my hero, my wife. I want to thank my Lord for all our blessings, and thank you and Brother Ahmed for this opportunity, along with WURD and Miss Lomax. May God continue to bless her and her lovely family. And a special shout out of love and condolence to the family of our good brother Cody Anderson, Joey Temple, and all of the URD family that we've lost, who have journeyed on home before us.
Alhamdulillah. In closing, we say all power to the people.
All power to all the
people.
All power to the people. Thank you, my brother. May God continue to bless us as we all grow and develop.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Brother Sultan. You've been listening to Islam Today on WRD Radio. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Once again, thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Allah.